Good morning, Poplar Math students, or possibly good afternoon. We're going to be working on just some quiz notes for today's quiz, and we're looking at both 16 and 17, so I'm not going to go super in depth. Just walk through one or two examples so we can kind of get a good feel for what's going on. Okay, so let's look at this first one. Ice cream cones cost $2.75 at Flavortown. And hot chocolate costs $2 at Flavortown. Mrs. Cosgrove ordered one ice cream cone and one hot chocolate for each student, K for kid, in her class. So think about the expressions 2.75K plus 2K and 4.75K. First of all, we should be able to see that these are equivalent expressions, that they both have the same value, that they essentially mean the same thing, but they don't really. So if Mrs. Cosgrove was just trying to figure out how much this was going to cost, which of those expressions should she use? Which one of those expressions is going to help her find the total cost for everything she's buying for all those kids? Give you a little bit of time. So hopefully you said that the correct expression would be the 4.75K, because then she only has to do one kind of math. It's the simplest math, one step. However many kids she has, let's say she has, 50 kids, we can just take 4.75 and multiply it by 50. Simplest how to find the total. Now let's say Mrs. Cosgrove tells Mr. Graves that, hey, I'm going to be getting treats for all of my kids. And Mr. Graves says, hey, there's money in our lunch budget for treats. And she says, great, I'm getting ice cream and hot chocolate. And he says, well, I can't pay you back. I can't fund the ice cream because that's unhealthy. But the hot chocolate, that's milk, and chocolate is good for you. So the school will pay for all the hot chocolate. Then, which one of these expressions should Mrs. Cosgrove use? The 2.75 plus 2K or the 4.75K? Okay, figured it out. So she should use the 2.75K. 2.75K, sorry, my screen got a little wonky there, plus 2K. Because if she uses the 4.75K, if she's using this one, then Mr. Graves is not going to know how much she spent on ice cream and how much she spent on hot chocolate, so she's not going to get any money back. But if she uses this one, Mr. Graves can pay for the hot chocolate. And we want Mr. Graves to pay for the hot chocolate because then Miss Cosgrove has more money to buy Mr. Thayer a birthday present. If he has a birthday, which he doesn't. Weird. For the hot chocolate. Hot chocolate. I'm too lazy to write hot chocolate, so I'm writing HC. Then there's this question, what does the term 2.75K represent? So think about the context of the problem. What is 2.75K or 2.75 times K? What does it mean in this situation? Again, I'll give you just a little bit of time to figure all that out. Write down your answer. So hopefully you figured out that this is the price to buy ice cream. For the kids. For all the kids, we can buy 275 times K. 275 is the price of the ice cream. K is the number of kids. This is the price to buy ice cream for all the kids. It's the total that the ice cream is going to cost. It's the total that Miss Cosgrove is going to have to pay because the school isn't paying for that part. So If you did these 3 questions with me, if you got $4.75K was the simplest way to find the total cost. If you saw that the other way to do the expression with the 275K and 2K broken out is going to let Miss Cosgrove get reimbursed for the hot chocolate and is more helpful in that situation. And if you are able to recognize what 275K represents, you are going to do a great job on the first part of the quiz. But as is so often the case with really wonderful things like the quiz today, there's a whole second piece. There's a whole second piece. And this is where we get into some basic algebra. So I'm going to have you pause the video right now. Well, not right now. I'm going to have you look at these 3 expressions, or equations. 3 times a equals 24. B plus B plus B minus 7 equals 8. And C plus 9 equals 13. And I'm going to have you look at these 3 questions. And I'm going to have you pause the video and solve just those 3 questions. Don't do that last one at the bottom yet. Pause the video, do those 3 questions. Okay, that should be enough time to find the pause button, to do some math, and then to find the pause button again. Or just, click on the screen. So which variable had the highest value, A, B, or C? In order to figure this out, you probably solved each one, however you managed to do that. So the variable that has the highest value is A, which equals 8. If you got something different, then you should be waving your hand and letting me know that I need to teach you some math, right? Which variable is exactly half of another one? And again, this time you should have found C. I can read. It's that last one, so of course it's C, which equals 4, because 4 is exactly half of 8, and 4 plus 9 is 13, and 3 times 8 is 24. So which equation seems out of place? There could be multiple answers to this. You could have said that the A equation seems out of place. A, cause no plus. Both this one and this one had addition. You could say B seems out of place because it's the only one with more than one variable term. More than one variable term. Right? Because C, we just have C. A, we just have A. But B, we have B plus B plus B. And that's a little weird. That's, I don't know. And you could have even said C because no multiplication. Duplication. Because A has 3 A's and B has 3 B's, right? 3B minus 7 equals 8. So any of those equations you could have said out of place. What I'm really looking for is not that you thought of these equations the same way as me, but that you had a reason that was mathematical for why it seemed out of place. If you said, well, B could be an insect too, and C could be an ocean too, but A, there's nothing that's an A except for the letter, that's not really a math reason. So the equation that seems out of place, you should have a math reason, because not plus, because no plus. I was like, what? Because not what? What was I thinking? Oh, because no plus. Thought it was a T. Okay, so that's one thing we could do. And now I'm going to draw you a pretty picture. A pretty picture of a balance. Pretty picture of a balance. And on one side, I've got 3, and I've got D, because everything's better on 3D. And I've got 3, and I've got D, because everything's better on 3D. And I've got 3, D, D. And I've got D, because everything's better on 3D. And on the other side, I've just gotten 30. And I know that this is perfectly balanced, so I'm trying to figure out what is the value of D. So take a moment, figure that out, pause the video if you have to. Okay, so there's a number of ways we can do this, but the easiest is to get rid of these threes. 1 3, 2 3, 3 threes, that is 9. So I'm going to take away 9 from this. I'm just going to cut off 9 from the bottom, draw my scissors, cut off 9 from the bottom, and now that I've subtracted 9, I'm going to have this top piece is instead of being 30, it's going to be 21. So now I have D plus D plus D. And I could try to sort of like figure out if I cut this into 3 equal sections, how many would each of those be? I can add these 3 Ds together because 1D plus 1D plus 1D is 3D, because it's always best to have 3D, equals 21. And to figure out how much D is, I could just divide each side by 3. I'm just going to write 3. I'm out of room. I'm going to erase this stuff at the top. That's not erasing. Still not erasing. So I can do 3D divided by 3. Normally I would write it as a fraction, but I'm out of room. I can do 21 divided by 3. Normally I would do it as a fraction, but I'm out of room on the bottom. So 3D divided by 3, if I only took a third of these, then I'm done with this D, I'm done with this D, I only have 1D. And I'm splitting this one into thirds, so I'm done with this part, I'm done with this part. And 21 divided into 3 equal pieces, each piece is 7. So D is going to equal 7. So if you could do this either with a mobile or without a mobile, if you were able to combine like terms maybe, and you did 3D plus 9 instead of drawing a silly picture equals 30, then you figured out that that's 21 is the same as 3D, and then divided by 3, and we got 1D equals 7. This is all math I'm expecting you to be able to do on the quiz. So enjoy. If you have any questions, ask me before the quiz. I'll stop teaching the other kids for you, maybe. And I'll see how great you did on the quiz itself.